IQ Test, a Marvel fanfiction written on AO3 by Ink in My Heart and on the page. The link for this fanfiction will be in the description box below, so I encourage you all to go check it out. Dude, have you seen this? Peter looked up from his homework and over to Ned. They were at Ned's house, Peter spending the afternoon with his best friend before he went out for a quick patrol and then headed home to where he was going to have Thai food with Aunt May. Seen what? Mr. Stark and Bruce Banner created some kind of IQ test, Ned explained, eyes glued to his computer. And there's a prize if you can solve the final problem. What? That's awesome! Peter abandoned his homework to peer over Ned's shoulder. What's the prize? Let's see, Ned murmured as he scanned through the rest of the information. Oh, here we go. If you can solve the final problem, you gotta spend a day with Tony Stark and Bruce Banner. Peter flinched at how high-pitched Ned's voice had gotten before he rubbed his ear. He grinned as Ned and he bounced on a seat and whirled around to face Peter, his eyes alight with excitement. Dude, this is so awesome. Did you know they were doing this? Peter shook his head, feeling excitement build in him. Mr. Stark never mentioned anything. This is so cool. Dude, we have to do it, Ned gasped, his eyes widening and a grin spreading across his face. He whirled back to his computer and clicked on the link. Wait, do you think we should? Peter asked. Why wouldn't we? Ned asked, as he started filling out Peter's details in the required section. Because we see Mr. Stark and Dr. Banner all the time, Peter said. Shouldn't we give someone else a chance? Ned shrugged his shoulders. If you do win, I'll take your place. Peter pressed his lips together to stop him from laughing. Okay, fine. If we win, you can spend the afternoon with Mr. Stark and Dr. Banner. Ned paused his typing and looked over his shoulder at Peter. You really are the greatest friend. Peter put his hand on Ned's shoulders and squeezed. Anything for you, Ned. Let's win you an afternoon with the two greatest minds. Do you think Dr. Banner will sign my chemistry book? Ned asked. If he does, can you get him to sign mine too? Peter asked. You haven't asked him? Ned paused with a frown. No, Peter said, his cheeks flushing a light pink. I was so nervous, and I didn't want to seem awkward. Now I feel even more awkward to ask. I'll get you one too, Ned promised with a grin. Peter grinned back. Sweet, let's win this. You can get us some autographs. Is that Karen's feed? Tony turned around to see his beautiful wife, crossing the lab towards him. He leaned into her touch as her fingers threaded through his hair. She pressed a kiss to the top of his head. He smirked when she wrapped her arms around his neck, pressing her cheek into his. It is, Tony confirmed, answering her question. Is everything okay with Peter? Pepper asked. The kid isn't getting injured, Tony said, and he hasn't been breaking curfew. Then why do you make it sound like he is? Pepper asked, pulling back slightly. Tony sighed and allowed Pepper to spin around, so he was facing her. Peter's been patrolling a lot more lately. Are you worried he's gotten himself into some trouble? Pepper asked. Kid's been on a streak of not bad luck. I'd like to keep it that way for as long as possible. Then what's wrong? Pepper asked. The kid's SATs are coming up. Pepper blinked at him. I'm gonna need a little more to go on. He hasn't been studying, Tony sighed, reaching up to scrub at his face. He shouldn't be increasing patrols right now. And why are you smirking at me? Pepper chuckled and pressed a kiss to Tony's forehead. Look at you, being a good dad. Tony felt his cheeks flush hot, and he glared at Pepper. I'm not. Pepper continued to smirk. Yes, you are. You're a good dad for worrying about his schoolwork and his future. I wanted to have the best opportunities, Tony huffed. So sue me. Pepper laughed and settled herself into his lap. Why don't you invite Peter over and study with him? That may not be necessary. Tony and Pepper looked up as Bruce entered the lab. He approached them slowly, holding a Stark pad in one hand. Bruce? Tony asked, gently helping Pepper stand. I forgot how smart Peter is. Bruce shook his head. He really is one of the most brilliant minds of his generation. Of course he is, Tony said, and he blinked. Why is he the most brilliant mind of his generation? He solved our equation. Bruce handed Tony the tablet, and he's the only one who got close and showed his work. The IQ test you guys were yammering about yesterday? Pepper asked. That's the one, Tony said. His eyes scanned over the tablet. He looked back over to Bruce. He did this. When did he do it? I got the alert half an hour ago, Bruce said. I came up here as soon as I can get my legs to work. This is incredible. Tony got to his feet, shifting the tablet so Bruce and Pepper could see. This is beyond college level stuff he's doing, and he did it in an afternoon. I guess you don't need to worry about him studying for SATs, Pepper said. Forget the SATs. Peter could be graduating college by now. Tony shook his head. You're not taking him out of school, Pepper warned him. Not only will May kill you, but so will I. Tony rolled his eyes. I'm not going to take him out of school. If I did, Ned would hack into my Iron Man suit and send me flying into the Empire State Building. If those two weren't the two kindest kids, we'd be in real trouble, Bruce said. Tony blinked. You're right. We should get them all the Lego they could ever build. Pepper smirked. Just make sure new Star Wars movies comes out and you'll be fine. Tony barked out a laugh, while Bruce shook his head with a chuckle. Tony wasn't going to keep paying the studios to keep making Star Wars movies. Although, if his kid cried because they weren't being made anymore, he totally would. But he was going to buy something for Peter to let him know how proud he was of him.